Hello, this is Dread from Last Epic Builds. In today's video topic, we will be going over my showcase on Lightning Aura Spellblade, a build I never thought would exist. First thing I would like to do is shout out my friend Mordrim, the owner of the channel Wizardry and Company, as he was the inspiration for this build, and the original video for this build will also be in the description. Please give him a like and a sub. The reason why I never thought this build would exist was because there were Fire Aura builds in the past, but their idols, chance to cast Fire Aura idols, were nerfed into the ground when they added the 1-second cooldowns on them, rendering them completely useless for any actual Flame Aura build, so I had to do some digging. They recently added a skill called Surge, which completely flopped, mind you. This was a terrible skill on release, but it does have a really cool ability, the ability to create a large amount of Fire Auras at once, which actually makes this build from okay to actually really strong. And it allows Fire Aura to exist again as an actual build. So the first question, why are we going with Lightning Aura? Well, because of Shock. Most dot builds have issues scaling damage because they lack the crit multi that all the other hit builds have, so we have to find ways of getting more damage multipliers. Shock reduces the enemy's lightning resistance by 5% per stack, 2% on bosses, and stacks up to 20 times. This allows us to add another scaling option and also helps our single target damage, which was the biggest issue with other Fire Aura builds. Being a lightning damage over time spell, this gives us an insane amount of ways of scaling even more damage, including ridiculously high elemental damage over time prefixes, adaptive spell damage, and spell damage. With all of this, I went for ward scaling on this build, and most of the time we have a juicy 2k bubble of ward, which allows us to tank most things in the Monolith of Fate. Sadly, this build is very poor performance in Arena due to the fact it is a melee build, as melee as you can possibly be, because you have to be right in enemies' faces to kill them, and being in melee range without any other ways of damage reduction makes any build for the current Arena terrible, which is kind of sad. But that being said, I'll be including a ZDPS version made for Arena in the description as well, which incorporates block and dodge into the build. This build hasn't been tested and will deal a lot less damage than this version, but it should in theory be a lot better for Arena. Let's get into the skills, shall we? Firebrand with the Brand of Arcanus allows us to scale even more adaptive spell damage for our Fire Auras, which gives us a good base to work with early game and lets us scale even further into endgame. Pyro shielding and warding flames gives us insane amounts of ward, which helps us tank hits while trying to kill bosses in fresh packs. Surge is overall the star of the build as it allows us to scale an insane amount of single target damage. You must be wondering, why are we running Teleport and Surge? They both share cooldowns. Well, yes, they do. And in a very ironic turn of events, the devs trying to limit the mobility of characters by sharing cooldowns on mobility skills actually helps us. The node Storm Battery gives us a stack of dormant energy every time we hit while Surge is on cooldown. We hit so infrequent thanks to the fact that we're running a staff, which has a very low attack rate, and we also barely have any attack speed, so reaching 10 dormant stacks without teleport to put Surge back on cooldown would be impossible, but thanks to the shared cooldown we can stack this while just breezing through Monolith and trigger all 10 dormant stacks, which thanks to Fulmination gives us 10 Fire Aura stacks automatically, increasing our single target damage significantly. Insulation and Storm Aegis both gives us an insane amount of ward, allowing us to push our max average ward even further in boss fights. Stormbringer and Electropulse both allow us to cast Lightning Blast, which will all hit the target a lot of times, causing a lot of stacks of shocks quickly, which will allow us to reach the shock cap without much effort. Lightning Blast also allows us to proc Lightning Aegis, which will increase our damage reduction and increase our damage significantly with our idols. There is a build planner in the description with all the other skill trees and the passive tree. But the only other thing that is important for the build for skills is Eye of Flame in the Flame Ward tree, giving our fire auras 15% more damage globally, a very strong node to take and one of the best ways to scale our damage. For passives, we just grab as much ward and fire aura related nodes as possible, as well as grabbing attack speed to help the fluidity of the build, and as much intelligence as we can since we are stacking ward retention. For idols, we run either increased lightning damage or increased fire aura damage. Helmet, relics, rings, we all want intelligence, increase elemental damage over time, and as much HP as possible. Our chest, we get int, increased fire aura damage, and some HP. Our belt, we want increased elemental damage over time and HP. Our gloves, int, and attack speed. For boots, we want movement speed, intelligence, and HP. And for our staff, we run increased elemental damage over time and lightning damage and shock percentage on the suffix for our lightning blasts. In the description, there will be a build planner, leveling planner, links to my Discord, Twitch, Patreon, as well as credits towards Wizardry and company, as he was the one I took inspiration from and conspired with to get this build guide to you guys. With that being said, have a wonderful day wherever you are, and bye!